Welcome to our deep dive into the year 1994, a year that left an indelible mark on history. Now, you might be thinking, 1994? Wasn't that just the year I perfected the art of using dial-up internet while listening to Ace of Base on repeat? And to that I say yes, it was also definitely that. But 1994 was so much more than just oversized clothing and questionable musical choices. From groundbreaking events to cultural milestones, 1994 was a year of triumph and tragedy, of innovation and upheaval. It was the year the internet as we know it began to take shape, a time when the world grappled with genocide and celebrated the dismantling of apartheid. So buckle up, because we're about to embark on a fascinating journey back in time to explore what made 1994 a year that continues to shape our world today. Let's talk about the Channel Tunnel, or as the French call it, Le Tunnel sous la Manche. This 31-mile marvel opened in 1994, connecting England and France. It symbolized unity, an underwater handshake. The Channel Tunnel changed everything. It boosted trade and tourism, bringing the UK and Europe closer, a testament to human ingenuity and collaboration. From a symbol of unity, we shift our focus to a stark reminder of humanity's capacity for darkness. In 1994, the world watched in horror as the Rwandan genocide unfolded. Over 100 days, 800,000 people, mostly Tutsis, were slaughtered by Hutu extremists. This was a calculated campaign of extermination, fueled by ethnic tensions and political manipulation. Neighbor turned on neighbor, and the world seemed to stand by. The UN peacekeeping force proved inadequate in the face of such barbarity. The Rwandan genocide was a failure of humanity itself. It was a stark reminder of what happens when hate and intolerance fester. The Rwandan genocide serves as a dark stain on our collective conscience. It's a story that demands to be told, to ensure such horrors are never repeated. In the aftermath, Rwanda grappled with the scars of unimaginable violence. The international community pledged to never again allow such atrocities. We owe it to the victims and future generations to learn from the past. Now let's take a break from the truly depressing and talk about something a little lighter. America's favorite pastime grinding to a screeching halt. That's right, folks. In 1994, Major League Baseball decided to treat its fans to a delightful little work stoppage known as the MLB strike. Picture this. It's the middle of August, the weather is perfect for baseball, your team is in the thick of a pennant race, and then bam! Silence. No more cheering crowds, no more walk-up music, no more rosin bags being thrown dramatically in the air. Just the deafening silence of a nation deprived of its sacred hot dogs and seventh-inning stretches. The strike dragged on for 232 agonizing days, wiping out the remainder of the regular season and most tragically, the World Series. Fans were left heartbroken, players were left fuming, and the owners, well, they were probably doing just fine. The 1994 MLB strike stands as a cautionary tale about the perils of greed and the importance of finding common ground. Alright, remember dial-up internet, that screeching, hissing sound that was the soundtrack to your awkward teenage years? Well, in 1994, the internet as we know it was just starting to emerge from the primordial soup of ones and zeros, and one of the biggest splashes in that primordial soup was the arrival of Netscape Navigator. Before Netscape Navigator came along, navigating the internet was about as enjoyable as trying to decipher ancient hieroglyphics while riding a unicycle. But Netscape Navigator changed all that. Suddenly, the internet was accessible to the masses, not just to computer science majors and people who enjoyed feeling hopelessly lost in cyberspace. With its user-friendly interface and groundbreaking features like bookmarks and, wait for it, pictures, Netscape Navigator opened up a whole new world of possibilities. Netscape Navigator's reign as king of the web browser was relatively short-lived, eventually being dethroned by a little-known upstart called Internet Explorer. In 1994, the world witnessed a moment of extraordinary hope and inspiration. After 27 long years in prison for his unwavering opposition to apartheid, Nelson Mandela walked free, his spirit unbroken, his resolve unshaken. Mandela's journey from political prisoner to global icon is the stuff of legend. Imprisoned for his activism against the brutal apartheid regime, he endured years of hard labor, isolation, and psychological torture. Yet, he emerged from prison not with bitterness and vengeance in his heart, but with a message of reconciliation and hope. His election as South Africa's first black president later that year was a watershed moment in history. Mandela's legacy extends far beyond his presidency, teaching the world about forgiveness, resilience, and the power of one person to make a difference. And now for something completely different. From the heights of human triumph, we descend into the surreal and often disturbing world of celebrity, crime, and a white Ford Bronco. Yes, it's time to talk about the O.J. Simpson trial, a televised spectacle that captivated and divided America. For those of you who weren't glued to your television screens in 1994, let me set the scene. O.J. Simpson, beloved football star, actor, and Hertz rental car spokesperson, was accused of murdering his ex-wife Nicole Brown Simpson and her friend Ron Goldman. What followed was a trial for the ages, a media frenzy the likes of which the world had never seen. There were car chases, bloody gloves, and a cast of characters that wouldn't have been out of place in a John Grisham novel. The trial became a national obsession, dominating headlines, water cooler conversations, and late-night talk show monologues. The O.J. Simpson trial was about more than just the guilt or innocence of one man. It exposed deep-seated racial tensions in America, sparking conversations about race, class, and the criminal justice system. Alright, let's take a break from the world of murder trials and legal dramas and talk about something a little more heartwarming. The circle of life, the power of friendship, and a bunch of singing animals. That's right, folks, it's time to talk about The Lion King. Released in the summer of 1994, The Lion King wasn't just a movie, it was a cultural phenomenon. It was the animated film that had everything: stunning animation, catchy songs, and a timeless story that resonated with audiences of all ages. But The Lion King was more than just a feel-good family film. It tackled complex themes of loss, responsibility, and the delicate balance of nature. The Lion King was a triumph for Disney, becoming one of the highest-grossing animated films of all time. It sparked a renewed interest in animation, inspired countless stage productions, and taught a generation of children about the circle of life. Now let's talk about something a little less cuddly and a lot more controversial. NAFTA, the North American Free Trade Agreement. Envisioned as a way to boost trade and create jobs, NAFTA was essentially a giant economic hug between the United States, Canada, and Mexico. The agreement, signed into law by President Bill Clinton, aimed to eliminate trade barriers and tariffs between the three countries, creating a free trade zone stretching from the Yukon to the Yucatan. Proponents argued that NAFTA would lead to economic growth, job creation, and lower prices for consumers. Opponents, on the other hand, feared job losses, environmental damage, and a race to the bottom for wages and labor standards. The debate over NAFTA was fierce and often contentious, pitting labor unions against corporations, environmentalists against free trade advocates. Regardless of one's stance on NAFTA, there's no denying that it was a significant moment in economic history. In 1994, the world turned its attention to the small town of Lillehammer, Norway, for the Winter Olympics. Nestled amid snow-capped mountains and frozen fjords, Lillehammer provided a picturesque backdrop for a celebration of winter sports and international camaraderie. The 1994 Winter Olympics were notable for a number of reasons, not least of which was the fact that they were the first Winter Games to be held just 2 years after the previous Winter Olympics. From the thrill of speed skating to the grace of figure skating, the Lillehammer Games offered up a feast of sporting drama. We saw legends made and dreams shattered, often in the space of a single heart-stopping moment. There was the U.S. figure skating team of Nancy Kerrigan and Tanya Harding, whose rivalry culminated in one of the most bizarre and controversial incidents in Olympic history. The Lillehammer Games were a reminder of the power of sport to unite people from all walks of life. On April 5, 1994, the music world was rocked by the news that Kurt Cobain, lead singer of Nirvana, had been found dead at his home in Seattle. Cobain's death, ruled a suicide, sent shockwaves through the music industry, marking the end of an era. With his angst-ridden lyrics and raw performances, Cobain became an icon for a generation. Nirvana's music spoke to the alienation of a generation. Cobain's death at 27 cemented his status as a tragic legend. His passing sparked a global outpouring of grief. In the aftermath, Nirvana's music took on new significance. Cobain's legacy remains complex, resonating with generations of fans. 1994 was a year of monumental events that shaped the world we live in today. From technological advancements that revolutionized the way we communicate to political upheavals that reshaped the global landscape, 1994 was a year that kept us on the edge of our seats. We explored the depths of human cruelty and the heights of human achievement, witnessing both the best and worst that humanity has to offer. We laughed, we cried, we questioned, and we learned. Thank you for joining us on this journey through history. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep learning from the stories that have shaped our world.